just happened? Metroid! In my opinion, one of the best series ever. The space, the exploration, the pew 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 pew! It's pretty rare to have a franchise that's been around for so many years and yet be filled with mostly nothing but top quality games. Mostly. I thought the game was okay. However, as many people are well aware, back in 2010 that game was very, very hated. Even nowadays. But recently, people have been clamoring for some more Metroid, and at E3 2015, Nintendo finally delivered with Metroid Prime Federation Force. And let me tell you something. People were excited. Yeah, oof. Honestly, I just kinda wanted an excuse to go back and play the original Metroid Prime, courtesy of the Trilogy Pack on Wii. Spoiler warning. This game is fantastic, you all know this already, but it's time to see why. What say we get this started? Back in the Super Nintendo days, there was a little game called Super Metroid, and much like the other AAA games on the console, it was a major success. But while franchises like Mario, Zelda, Rayman, and even Sonic made the jump to 3D, Metroid just sorta sat the following generation out. I mean, yeah, you can beat up Samus in Super Smash Bros., but that's really it. Also, fun fact, Samus is the only character in that game without a skeleton. Where's that in the canon? Metroid Prime begins with Samus Aran landing on the Frigate Orpheon. Now, according to the timeline, Prime takes place between the first two games, and quite frankly, I don't even know why there's a Metroid timeline in the first place. Samus arrives, goes on a murderous rampage, and leaves. Does it really matter what order she does it in? She reaches the Orpheon by following a distress signal from a space station, and upon checking out what's inside, she discovers that it's a space pirate research facility. However, she also finds that most of said space pirates are either almost dead or totally dead. It seems like that research is just going swimmingly. Soon enough, the reasoning behind the distress signal shows its ugly face. It's the parasite queen. Oh, she's already dead. Huh. That was fast. Got a sweet achievement, though. There's the series staple countdown timer. Wouldn't be a Metroid game without it. It's at the start of the game as opposed to the end, but details. You then run into Meta Ridley as he escapes. I'm not entirely sure how Ridley became a cyborg after his last defeat, but again, details. And just as you think you've made it out in one piece, an explosion blows Samus back, and apparently the blow is so severe to your suit, it causes everything but your regular power beam to malfunction. A bit odd how the results of the malfunction are that exact, but again, details! After taking off and escaping the Orpheon, as evidenced by the achievement, Samus travels to the overworld of Talon IV, and here is where the game officially begins. Now, from my experiences, the better Metroid-style games start off beautifully. You have a little bit of story, you get thrown into a random area, go. That's kind of a lot of faith to put into the gamer's hands, especially when this gave us the incredible innovation of moving left. This first area has 5 doors, only one of which is accessible, and that is the only direction you're given. Go down that pathway and whatever happens, happens. Combine that with the excellent rainy atmosphere and you just sorta know right off the bat that the game is going to be pretty special. The biggest shocker now is that Metroid isn't first person, which, you know, the other ones weren't. And let me tell you, back in 2002, people thought this was totally awesome and were really willing to experience Metroid in this brand new way. Okay, they were terrified. People don't really like change in long-running successful franchises, and honestly, I don't blame them. A lot of people screw up. I have yet to play the GameCube version of the game, but hey, the Wii version turned out pretty good. Pointing with the Wii remote always felt natural to me. You can swap between different tools on the fly, and blasting enemies is always a good time. Well, except for the Chozo ghosts. No, I ain't scared of no ghosts. They start to show up about halfway through the game, and they're really annoying. When they arrive, the lights fade out, and they take like 1,000,000 hits to finally go down! But this whole first-person idea doesn't just benefit the controls. It really places you within Samus's helmet. You're not just some camera rolling around with an arm cannon, though admittedly that would equally be cool. What you're seeing is exactly what Samus is seeing, even down to the rainfall landing on her helmet to electric enemies causing you to see static. Game's very pretty. There are 5 main areas to explore in all of Talon IV. The overworld, which also houses the frigate that now crashed, the Chozo Ruins, Phendrana Drifts, Magmoor Caverns, and the Phazon Mines. each having a vastly different atmosphere, equally impressive music, and a unique series of puzzles. It's also kind of fun to say Frigate. And hell, half the fun of the game is knowing full well that you're gonna get lost. But once you get access to a new tool, you can finally get to that area that you couldn't get to before to either progress, or find some more trinkets that'll help you out along the way, as long as you're willing to backtrack. And that's a scary word for people, backtrack. Nobody really likes going through the same thing more than once for the sake of progression, but I don't know. I would go back and forth through these areas multiple times just because I wanted to see what secrets lied in that morph ball hole that I missed an hour ago. And almost always it leads to ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. As far as all the power-ups go, they all blend with Samus and her suit perfectly. New beams, suit upgrades, powers for the morph ball. The only ones that are pretty useless are the super beams that guzzle up missile ammo like they're nothing. I didn't even care to get footage for them, they're that useless. Aside from the super missile, of course, you can't say no to easy explosions. Especially on those pesky Metroids, yeah, you remember these things? The creatures the series is named after? They don't show up for quite a while, but man, when they do, one ice beam, missile, boom, is glorious. The bosses are fun to fight too, each of them towering over you in size and are satisfying to take down. Except the first two. Those fights suck. I know basically this entire video has been me raving about how Metroid Prime is fantastic, but I can't help it, it just is. There's even something about the game's development that I love. I gotta mention the visor system. Samus will have a total of 4 visors by the end of the game, each serving a different purpose like puzzle solving and navigation. And apparently, this whole mechanic exists because in a meeting between Retro Studios and Miyamoto, good old Shiggy was like, what if Samus had a bug's head? And I mean, it's Miyamoto we're talking about here. You can't say how you would really respond to that. Like, the hell are you talking about? Apparently, this was then interpreted as Samus switching heads to altering her visual perception entirely somehow, to ultimately an upgradable visor. It's like one twisted game of telephone and Miyamoto's the headmaster. He works in very, very mysterious ways. I think we can all agree though that scanning kinda sucks. One of the visors allows you to scan almost anything for more information. In theory, cool. In practice, if you want to scan for stuff, you stop the action every 5 minutes or so just to see if there's anything you could possibly scan. New enemies, health pickups, whatever. You have to scan the bosses before you fight them. There's a lot of red herrings that ultimately tell you nothing interesting. And scattered multiple times throughout the world, Chozo lore panels that tell some backstory to the Chozo race. I would tell you what said story is, but honestly I skipped through the text so fast, the only thing that I know is that the Chozo apparently have some lore. But now it's time for the Endgame. You adventured through Talon IV, you got all your powers back, including some new ones. You developed a strategy to bypass the Chozo ghosts every time you hear ba-na-da-da-na-da-da-na-da-da-na-da. Your next task is to find the 12 Chozo artifacts. These mystical things are the key to get you into the impact crater and remove the dangerous Phazon from the planet. Gee, I wonder if any explosions are going to be involved. That's what Samus does best. A lot of people hate this part of the game, and I can see why. You only get a single hint to where each of these are, but to know to blow up this random wall is certainly not what the game alludes to. A few of these require you to do things that you would never think of to do on your own, but luckily some of them are just another reward for exploring. And hey, it's Retro Studios' first title, surely they won't end their games with fetch quests again. Uh-oh, Ridley's back, looking too big, as always. Only thing little about him is he's looking a little defeated right now, am I right? Once you're inside the impact crater, all that's left to do is to take out the source of all the evil, Metroid Prime. Now I know what you're thinking, that doesn't look like a Metroid. It's a lengthy but pretty easy fight, and I guess his second form does look a bit more like a Metroid, but personally, this is a prime example of what a Metroid isn't. I'm sorry about that last one, couldn't help myself. You take that beast out, your Phazon suit is sucked right off of you, which is weird. I mean, how does that even really? Crater collapse imminent. You see, I told you that was gonna happen. And with that, the game is over and all is well. Talon IV will live to see another day. For now. Metroid Prime is one of the best games ever made. I can't even try to be subtle here. Incredible atmosphere, rapid sense of growth in your abilities, rewarding you for going off the beaten path, fun boss fights, very little downtime, and probably the best part, the game can be beaten in only a few hours. It's meant to be played multiple times to perfect your path, all while getting more items than you did last time, a staple of the Metroid series. The game is truly a classic no matter how you spin it. There would go on to be 2 sequels that continued the legacy, and they did a great job at it, but at the end of the day, if you want to experience Metroid Prime and you're not really much of a fan of first person, don't fret, you can always play the Metroid Prime remake on DS, where instead of first person, it's pinball. I got nothing. Hey everybody, how's it going? Did you like the video production of the video game? Oh, then toss me over a like and subscribe, because that would help a ton, and I would also love you very much. Mwah. There's a few more videos you can jump to by clicking here. You could follow me on Twitter to stay updated on videos and more of my shenanigans. And I also have to give my premium patrons an awesome shout out: Kodiak Polzer, Mustard Pig, Koen Van Beek, Alex Downs, Ben Saunders, and Jor Vanderveen. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the support. Now that I'm done here, I'm gonna go away. Bye-bye.